Chapter 911, Fuchs's Connate Trigrams. For the whole day, most of the players in the shops were watching the newly released Investiture of the Gods. On the morning of the next day, a large group of people walked in as soon as the shop opened. After finding seats to sit down, they began to talk about the new TV series eagerly. "Sister Sue, did you finish Investiture of the Gods yesterday?" With a mug of cappuccino in his hand, Song Qingfeng hadn't even taken a seat yet. Seeing an acquaintance nearby, he began to talk with her. "I just came back from my family and haven't watched it yet. Is it good?" "Yesterday, I just watched the Shang dynasty go corrupt. My goodness, you can't imagine how powerful the Shang dynasty is. Do you remember Pagoda Bear Ali, the Grand General who led an army to surround and attack Flower Fruit Mountain and later did many favors for the great sage in Journey to the West?" Su Danji said. "He's in Investiture of the Gods. He's only a marshal in the Shang dynasty. FCK? About to turn on Investiture of the Gods, Song Qingfeng was startled and shouted, "Then, who is the Emperor? Is he the Great Jade Emperor?" "I don't think so," Su Danji said. "I wonder if some more powerful immortals are acting as officials in the Shang dynasty." Shen Qingqing said, "Goddess Nuwa is so powerful, but when King Zhu read the lewd poem, she didn't dare to touch one hair of his, at least on the surface." "What, isn't Nuwa the primeval sage, the one who patched up the sky, in Journey to the West? Even the small Jin River Dragon King dared to take the Emperor's life. Who's the most powerful person in the Shang dynasty? Is there anyone more powerful than Pagoda Bear Ali? I don't know. Right now, there's a man named Huang Fu, and his title is King Wa King. I don't think he showed up in Journey to the West. There's also a Grand Preceptor Wen who is outside suppressing rebellions." "Huh? Did these people appear in Journey to the West? Are they more powerful than Devaru Ali?" After all, Song Qingfeng and the others had only watched Journey to the West and knew that the gods had different powers. "I can't talk with you guys now, I've got to watch it." Seeing that Investiture of the Gods had begun on her screen, Shen Qingqing was eager to find answers to her questions. Hearing her words, the others also stopped their chat and entered the magnificent and miraculous mythical world in the primeval times. "Qingqing, do you want to watch it together?" Su Danji and the others also put on their virtual reality headsets and began to watch today's new episodes of Investiture of the Gods. "Yes, yes, yes, being tied to a blazing metal pillar is so scary that I almost had a nightmare last night." Remembering yesterday's experience, the girls decided to watch the new episodes together, afraid that Su Danji would invent some new frightening torture methods. "What's that?" Song Qingfeng, who hadn't watched the TV series yesterday, looked at them in bafflement. At this moment, they stepped on the land in Kunlun Mountain, which was covered in white snow and ice that were tens of thousands of years old. The terrain was different from the Kunlun that they saw in the Legend of Sword and Fairy, which was way later in the timeline. Auspicious clouds and mists rose, and purple clouds floated around while countless immortal lights shot out from the immortal palace at the Kirin Cliff. It was a prosperous immortal scene that no words could describe. After entering the palace, the viewers saw the primeval Lord of Heaven quietly sitting with his eyes closed on the 8-treasure cloud light platform. They had never seen this immortal before. He didn't look solemn or majestic, but they had an indescribable feeling when they saw him, and a sense of respect and fear hit them abruptly. This feeling was even more intense than the feeling that they had when they saw Patriarch Subudi on the Mountain of Heart and Mind. Who is this immortal? Su Danji sensed it more since she had learned the palm thunder at the Mountain of Heart and Mind and used it to block true immortals with only a mortal's cultivation strength. The indescribable sense of respect and fear that this old mortal induced in her was even stronger than Patriarch Subudi. She couldn't imagine what realm this immortal had reached. "Master, what kind of an immortal is the primeval Lord of Heaven?" Feng Wu and Xin looked horrified as they thought about the situation, and so did Shen Qingqing and Xu Zixin, who were watching the TV series with them. Something more astonishing came. There are two other deities on the same level as the primeval Lord of Heaven? It was hard to imagine. The people felt as if they were standing before a mountain that they couldn't see the peak of, feeling as tiny as dust before the grand mountain. They suddenly discovered that there were more taller mountains behind the first one, which they had thought was the tallest mountain in the world. Look, they are going to send Jiangshang down the mountain for the investiture of the gods. The viewers were thrilled at the thought of the investiture of the gods. They were amazed that such an unimaginable thing would happen in the primeval Huaxia. While the Kunlun mountain was peaceful and tranquil, the human world was in an uproar. King Zhu has killed 2 major feudatories. Half of the 4 big feudatories are gone. This West feudatory Jichang is in danger. At this moment, West feudatory Jichang was doing divination for himself before he set off. The hexagrams showed that the Shang dynasty had only 28 years left. Zong and Yuhan, 2 evil officials, would die violent deaths while West feudatory Jichang would have a natural and peaceful end. Is this prediction accurate or not? The viewers exchanged a look. It would be fine if the prediction was kept a secret. However, the 2 evil officials, Zong and Yuhan, heard of it, which worried the viewers. After all, it was taboo for heavenly secrets to be leaked. More importantly, the prediction was leaked to King Zhu, who had killed 2 major feudatories. They continued to watch as King Wen, Jichang, was imprisoned, and he derived the connate 64 hexagrams from the connate 8 trigrams. Later, he was actually released and returned to his homeland with glory. Then, King Zhu went back on his words and wanted to kill King Wen. The ups and downs of the story were thrilling. At Lintong Fortress, tens of thousands of soldiers chased after King Wen with thunderous shouts. He was about to reach the border of West Zhu when they caught up with him. Then, a figure descended from the sky with wind and lightning energy on his wings, and he stood before the tens of thousands of soldiers. TL note, King Zhu and the West Zhu aren't related, even though they are all pronounced Zhu, the actual Chinese characters are different. With his eyes big like bronze bells with lightning energy flashing inside, he was the first one with wind and lightning energy on his wings and who inspired descendants with countless changes. Li Zhenzi, my goodness. Remembering the foreshadowing where West feudatory Jichang had saved an abandoned infant in a thunderstorm, the audience exclaimed in elation. TL note, Li Zhenzi is a character featured within the famed classic Chinese novel Investiture of the Gods. Li Zhenzi is a celestial being that had been created by a certain great thunderstorm at Mount Swallow. He is also known as Thunderquaker. King Zhu couldn't kill him, my goodness. His divination was right. I'll watch that Fuxi 8 trigrams again, it is amazing. Such accurate predictions were made, Su Tanji said immediately. Then, she began to watch Investiture of the Gods for the second time. At this moment, many other people also went back to watch the extremely mysterious 8 trigram pattern with eager eyes, especially the cultivators such as Fairy King Yun who excelled in divination immediately went back to watch the process again. Fuxi 8 trigram, Fuxi. She suddenly widened her eyes in amazement. Is it the origin of the divination and the Zuyi technique in the legendary land of Huaxia? Even the weak-looking feudatory knows such powerful stuff. Chapter 912, 10 Ultimate Arrays. Members of G-Sect began to show power. On the other side, the story of Li Jing and his son unfolded. The cultivators and warriors in different shops watched Nata cause an uproar in the ocean beside the Chentang fortress. Knowing that he had made big trouble, Nata killed himself, returning his flesh to his mother and bones to his father. It was an unsettling story. Different from Journey to the West, Investiture of the Gods revealed the grand mythical scenes from ancient Huaxia. Perhaps no other legend or myth in the history of the whole world had so many powerful immortals and gods appearing at the same time. It was like a huge mythical scroll. The mythical heroes from this huge mythical scroll stepped onto the huge arena one by one. Among this mythical group of heroes, no one was absolutely good or bad. Deities could also make mistakes, since they had once been humans. On this ultimate arena, legendary stories with strange twists unfolded. So, Li Jing was still cultivating under Dew Immortal at this time. This Dew Immortal is so powerful, he rebuilt Nata's physical body with lotus flowers and roots. The viewers watched the scenes with widened eyes. So, Pagoda Bearer Devara Ali's Jade Tower is a gift from a lamp-burning Taoist. It's used to suppress Nata, so they are forced to reconcile with each other. Huh? Isn't he Buddha Dipankara? While talking about the story with others, Sutanji froze at the scene. It must be noted that Buddha Dipankara had appeared in Journey to the West many times, but in this era, he was lamp-burning Taoist. He was a disciple of the primeval Lord of Heaven? At this moment, the screen dimmed. Ah, that's the end again? Instantly, she lounged on the computer chair as if she had lost all her will to do anything. Sutanji and the others sat before their computers for a while. Master, should we watch it again? I feel unsatisfied. Fengwu said. What the heck, can't the shop owner release 100 episodes in one day? Sutanji said indignantly. Well, I'll watch it again. That's miraculous. The moment she said that, Song Qingfeng, who was sitting beside her, yelled, this divination technique doesn't need spiritual energy, it means that anyone can learn it. West Feudatory has derived connate diagrams. Fuxiate diagrams are profound and hard to understand, but the derived 64 hexagrams are easy to understand even though the number of signs increased. You guys can watch it a few more times. They didn't know that this was the beginning of Ziyi, the most famous divination theory and one of the fruits of ancient wisdom. Investiture of the gods is miraculous. For the next few days, people in almost every shop were talking about this new TV series. Some tried to copy King Wen and deduce their fates using the divination technique. But, sitting on a couch, Sutanji was talking with others about investiture of the gods in high spirits, and she said, the previous episodes focused on the Shang dynasty and the three sects, and the most important part is the connate 8 diagrams. I guess the Taoist friends who study divination are thrilled. It's a pity that I study lightning spells, and divination is only my hobby, Sutanji said in frustration. I wonder if there's good stuff in the future episodes. The three sects are so powerful, I wonder if any of the sect leaders will give lectures? Sitting next to her, Nalan Mingsu turned her bright eyes. I wonder who will. It's said that Chan sect has closed the Dao field due to the imminent catastrophe. We haven't seen members of the Ren sect yet, Shen Qingqing analyzed. Maybe the Chan sect. Sutanji said, Goddess Shiji claimed to be a member of Chan sect, but she was burned to death by the Immortal with the 9-dragon godly fire cover. Maybe the Chan sect isn't powerful at all? Nalan Mingsu agreed. It's possible. Seeing that the sky had turned dark, they stood up from the couches. It's exciting that we can watch new episodes of Investiture of the Gods tomorrow. 1 week has passed before we noticed it. We can do nothing but talk about Investiture of the Gods each day. Sutanji said, feeling like her life depended on this. Then, she perked up at the thought that she could watch new episodes tomorrow. On the next morning Before they could sit down with cups of cappuccino in their hands, they heard Sutanji shout, Look, it's about Chan sect. Grand Preceptor Wen has returned with the army. In the mythical TV series with many gods, the main character Jiang Xia, who was also known as Jiang Shang, mingled with them and didn't look outstanding with his weak cultivation strength, calling almost every enemy and friend senior. However, his shortcomings showcased the others' radiance. Seeing Grand Preceptor Wen returning to morning song with the army, the viewers had their hearts in their throats again. After all, even Shang Rong, the old official whom the previous king had entrusted with the duty to look after the new king, had killed himself by smashing his head onto the pillar in the Golden Royal Palace. Bai Gan, the uncle of the king, was cruelly cut open and had his heart dug out. In such an extremely unruly dynasty, the viewers thought that this old official Wenzong would be the next victim. However, When the old official showed up while riding on a black Chiron, King Zu didn't dare to utter any nonsense. When he punched the evil officials in front of everyone in Golden Royal Palace, King Zu didn't even dare to show his anger. The viewers trembled inside. What's the background of Grand Preceptor when even King Zu must tread carefully around him? Although he was on the side of villains, he was almost the most admirable person in the whole TV series. In Golden Royal Palace, they drew up 10 strategies to settle the nation. On Golden Turtle Island, they visited immortal friends to battle West Chi. TL note, West Chi is West feudate Regi Chang's land, and the nation was called West Zu. At this moment, the viewers followed them to the Golden Turtle Island. In one glance, they saw the tranquil green mountains overlooking and suppressing the great ocean and sharp cliffs. Colorful phoenixes chirped, long-living deer and immortal foxes roamed in the forest, and spiritual beasts and birds rested on trees. Ivies and veins crawled in the valley with creeks and bamboo remaining green all year round. Wow! So beautiful. The scenery-loving elves in the Kanglan City shop didn't want to leave. Look, what are they making? At this moment, there were immortals coming and going on the island. In the 8-trigram brazier, something was being refined. The refinery method was too complex for the viewers to understand. But after it was set up on the battleground in Zai-Chi, all kinds of immortal lights of various colors rose from the array. The connate pure essence floated up, hiding hints of Hundun inside. Wind and fire were unleashed together as the heaven and earth cracked. Murderous spirits spread all over the heavenly realm, and black smoke engulfed Mount Chi. At this moment, not only Sudanji, but everyone else, from new viewers to ancestral Master Xuanhuan and other patriarchs, looked at the array in horror. They had never seen a major array with such intense murderous spirits. It could kill immortals and gods. What array is this? As 10 ultimate rays came out, the Taoist spells of Green Turing Palace began to reveal their powers to the viewers. Chapter 913. I want to learn this. Outside West Chi was a vast wasteland where sand and small rocks flew in the wild winds, and dust filled the sky. In front of the West Chi army was Nata, who stood on the fiery wheels with the fiery tip spear in his hands. Huang Tanhua, who was riding on the Jade Chiron, Li Zhenzi with his weird and fierce looks, and Yang Jian, emanating a magnificent presence as he looked into the distance. On the side of the Shang dynasty that was ruled by Yin Shang, Grand Preceptor Wen was standing before others while riding on the black Chiron with a gold whip in his hand. Behind him were 10 Taoists with chilly expressions. Their faces looked very weird, being green, yellow, red, or white in color. Riding on immortal elks, they stood in one line. The two armies formed their formations with intense murderous spirits. The viewers had never seen such a scene before. They were amazed that the mortal troops were led by immortals whose powers were unimaginable. When they built the arrays, the soldiers and generals took their positions. The formation looked even more mysterious as heavy dust and sand filled the air. Sudanji and some other cultivators, such as the Ui Taoist Alliance Master Lanmo, followed Jiang Zia into the arrays to observe them. The moment that they passed the border of the array flags which acted as invisible portals, they felt as if they had entered another world in which the sky was dim and the earth was dark. Even though it was only a part of the arrays that weren't completely finished, it could scare ordinary people witless. As the two sects battled, they only used their techniques and Dao spells, even though they didn't use any cunning and strange military schemes. The arrays full of dangers looked more frightening than military tactics. At this moment, on one hand, the viewers in the new shops and the ones in the continent of immortal relics admired Grand Preceptor Wen's loyalty and the indigenous 10 ultimate arrays built by the 10 heavenly masters from the Golden Turtle Island. They were eager to see the great power of the major arrays. On the other hand, they hoped that the great West Chi army would reach Morning Song immediately and teach the cruel king a hard lesson. For one moment, they were worried that Jiang Zia couldn't break the arrays. For the next moment, they were worried that old Grand Preceptor Wen would be defeated. They felt torn. There's indeed no one who can break these arrays. Artifact masters such as Li Heran and Jun Yangzai from the UI Taoist Alliance stared at the major arrays. Instead of activating the arrays, the 10 heavenly masters invited Jiangxia to enter the arrays and observe them so he could return and think of a way to break it, which showed how confident they were in the 10 ultimate arrays. Obviously, the arrays didn't let them down since no one in the whole West Qi army could think of a way to deal with them. So horrifying. There's such a horrifying thing in ancient Huaxia. In the new shop in Kanglan City, Black Dragon Gulth howled in astonishment. I feel like its presence is even more scary than some of the powerful gods. Is it an array? In his mind, arrays were just magic arrays, not this thing that contained so many dangers and mysteries. 10 ultimate arrays? What good stuff are you watching? At this moment, Valkyrie Isabella, who was lying in the heavenly realm, could only obtain some clues by eavesdropping on the murmurs of the viewers as she waited for the live stream on the big screen at 8 p.m. She was so impatient that she wished that she could leap out of the pool and go to the shop to watch the newest episodes of Investiture of the Gods. Despite her impatience, she perked up her ears to eavesdrop on the elves, afraid that she would miss some details that they had let slip about the TV series. At this moment, the elves exclaimed, "How come the Master of the Desolate Array is so powerful?" TL note, Hun and Po are types of souls in Chinese philosophy and traditional religion. Within this ancient soul dualism tradition, every living human has both a Hun spiritual, ethereal, Yang soul which leaves the body after death, and also a Po corporeal, substantive, Yin soul which remains with the corpse of the deceased. It is believed that people have 3 Hun and 7 Po. He stole Jiangxia's 2 Hun and 6 Po with only a scarecrow. They saw Heavenly Master Yao set an earth platform and an incense desk in the desolate array and place a scarecrow on the platform with Jiang Shang's name attached on it. 3 lamps were placed on the scarecrow's head while 7 lamps were placed by its feet. By using talisman paper and seals in front of the platform, he had taken almost all of Jiangxia's souls in about 20 days as the latter tried to think of a way to deal with the array. Even the cultivators on the East continent had never seen such weird and powerful Dao spells before. It was hard and even impossible to defend, even though they knew the causes. Yang Jian and Nata were clueless as to how to block the spell. It was a technique that went beyond their scope of knowledge. They couldn't understand the connection between the scarecrow and Jiangxia and why it could break through all defenses and target his Hun and Po with ease. It was so dangerous. A scarecrow, what, another powerful object? Lying in the pool, the Valkyrie wished that her hands could move and ease the itching sensation caused by her impatience to watch the TV series. Say something more, guys. She was desperate. At this moment, the viewers began to understand the great power of this array. After all, the disciple sent by the primal Lord of Heaven lost his souls and almost died thereafter just coming out of the sect. At last, Jiangxia, with only 1 Hun and 1 Po left and desperate to return to Kunlun, floated back to Kunlun Mountain and encountered the South Pole Immortal Elder, who stopped the last Hun and Po from being taken. If this didn't happen, Investiture of the Gods would end soon after it began. Then, the viewers watched as the primeval Lord of Heaven's second disciple, Chai Jingzi, went to take back Jiangxia's Hun and Po. Instead of taking them back, he almost died in the array. Seeing this scene, the viewers were shocked beyond words. After all, Chai Jingzi was one of the Golden Immortals and only second to Guanqing's among the 12 Golden Immortals. What's the background of the 10 Heavenly Masters? It seems like everyone from the Ji sect is powerful. The viewers had been a bit worried that the old Grand Preceptor Wenzong would be defeated, but now, they were full of worry for Jiangxia and West Qi, wondering if anyone in the world could break this array. Even more unbelievable was that even the primeval Lord of Heaven couldn't give them a good method to enter the array and take back Jiangxia's Hun and Po. With his decree, the people of West Qi went to 8 View Palace and Xuandu Cave of Daluo Palace and visited Lozi, who then gave them a Tai Kai scroll, But this scroll could only deal with the array that took Jiangzi's Hun and Po, and there were 10 arrays. Chai Jingzi, whose combat strength ranked top among the 12 golden immortals, entered the array with that Tai Kai scroll, and he only made a narrow escape after taking back Jiangzi's Hun and Po but lost the Tai Kai scroll in the array. When he escaped from the array, he was scared senseless. This. Can we learn this array? Suddenly, many cultivators yelled. After all, they had watched every detail including when the Heavenly Masters refined these array blueprints. Sutanji also stared at the 10 ultimate array and shouted, "I'll learn it too, I'll learn." The golden light array made by Golden Light Saint Mother. Huh? Sutanji was delighted when she saw that the Golden Light Saint Mother also used lightning spells. Yeah, I'll learn this one, I'll learn this one. Chapter 914, Head Nailing 7 Arrow Book, can also be learned. After watching today's episodes of Investiture of the Gods, Sutanji took out her communication jade to contact the UI Taoist Alliance and analyze the array that she had seen today. At this moment, almost all the people in the shop were talking about the 10 ultimate arrays. Which of the 10 ultimate arrays do you think is the most powerful? Sutanji heard an Hui discussing with some grand cultivators. I'm sure that the golden light array is the most powerful. It's obvious that the desolate array is more powerful. FCK the desolate array, it just appears more often than the others. The heavenly ultimate array is the most powerful. It ranks number 1 among the 10 ultimate arrays. It's natural that the heavenly ultimate array is the most powerful array. Yi Songdao, the Cloud Ocean faction master and one of the most veteran customers in the shop, said, I think we can learn these arrays. After I return to my faction, I'll gather the faction resources and see if we can make a copy of the array blueprint. We can't find those high-level materials they used in the arrays. The materials that we have aren't up to the standard, Sutanji said. I think the best we can is making a mimic, just like the heavenly mirror that we previously made. High-level materials aren't up to the standard. Seeing Nalan Minksu passing them, and Hui's eyes lit up as he said, if we can get some rare and precious materials from the heavenly realm to refine the array blueprint, then, we can. They exchanged a look and yelled together, make duplicates. Hearing these words, they were stunned by their own bold thoughts. After all, this was not a spell but something like spiritual treasures which didn't consume much spiritual energy. Anyone could use it and release the same power. At this thought, Sutanji sat on a couch just like how the Golden Light Saint Mother sat in the array. She emitted lightning-like lights from her palms as if she was controlling the godly mirror in the array without touching it. Taoist friends, what do you think of my golden light array, Master? This array has the essence of the sun and the moon and contains the essence from heaven and earth. It's extremely miraculous. At this moment, Feng Wu praised while moving her head back and forth. The mirror is neither copper nor gold and can't be found in the fire inside the brazier. Even heavenly immortals would be melted if they are trapped in the array. Ahaha, I knew that. I haven't wasted my love on you. Sutanji smiled smugly. Yeah, you stole all my lines. Xin was sulky. Ha ha ha, watch my heavenly ultimate array. At this moment, a figure walked up from behind. It was the Xtaolf, the Liuyan Taoist Palace Master and Sutanji's senior brother. Sitting on a couch, he formed a spiritual seal with both hands. Ahahaha, very good. The people of the UI Taoist Alliance who loved to try new things moved immediately. Jun Yangtsai said, I'll try it as soon as I return. Alliance Chief Lanmo said, Mr. Nalan and I will contact the Immortal Realm and ask Senior Nalan and others to find some rare materials that we don't have. Okay. TL note, it seems like Godly Realm, Immortal Realm, and Heavenly Realm all refer to the same place. These materials are not cheap, Hui said with worry. I'm afraid that they won't have enough money. We will try with all the forces in the UI Taoist Alliance first. At this moment, Nalan Hongwu and Gatinyan in the distant innumerable immortal sea looked sulky. I say, Our storage space is not big enough for the immortal crystals. What should we do? Don't worry. Xuanhuan said, the teleportation ray leading to the lower region is about to be completed. We'll have no problem with communication and transporting goods. At this moment, they received messages from UI Taoist Alliance and Nalan Mingsu. They're asking us to find these precious materials. They were curious, why do they need these materials? Nalan Hongwu glanced at the materials and found that some of them didn't even have names and only had pictures. Some of the pictures seemed to be screenshots from some TV series. What are these? What are you talking about? Zhongwu immediately looked over. Nalan Hongwu said, they seem to be trying to recreate something, 10 ultimate arrays, but they lack lots of materials and are asking us to find them here, and the mages from the West continent. Xuanhuan said in bafflement, I just made the plan to open arcade game halls and sell mobile wing machines in the God's Palace in the Western Heavenly Realm. How come the mages in Kanglan City shop are sending messages to me? They are offering to go there and open the branch shop in the God's Palace. This whole thing sounds very suspicious. Xuanhuan said, how come I've never heard of the so-called 10 ultimate arrays before? It seems like the shop has released a new TV series. These guys, how could they not tell us about the new TV series? I want to watch this investiture of the gods too. He wanted to quit the job immediately. We can summon a few people in the Ascendance realm up here, so they can manage the shop while we go and watch the TV series. They each had a big bag of immortal crystals. They had earned a lot of money by taking their share. They exchanged a look. It seems like we can buy lots of stuff with the money that we've earned. Then, we can also learn the arrays that they mentioned. Xuanhuan laughed. Good idea. Zhongwu said, they are practicing that 10 ultimate arrays. I wonder if there's more powerful stuff? At this moment, Mr. Fang suddenly received a new upgrade task from the system. System upgrade task, acquire many energy crystals. 2. Task description, you can repeat this task 5 times. Task reward, mythological gift bag 1. Mr. Fang glanced at it. I can do this task several times. It must be noted that previously, he could only do each task once, and the rewarded gift bags didn't get him any good things. For example, after receiving the God Thrashing Whip, Mr. Fang was so angry that he almost disassembled it immediately. What use did he have for such a thing? But this time, he had several more chances to receive mythological rewards. The system can't give me a God Thrashing Whip every time, right? Thoughts raced in Mr. Fang's mind. The 10 ultimate arrays were indeed dangerous. The 12 golden immortals of the Chan sect came to help the West Chi, and they borrowed spiritual treasures from many places and spent lots of time on the discussion of strategies before they could finally break these arrays. Despite their powerful Dao spells, the 10 heavenly masters from the Golden Turtle Island couldn't escape from their fates. It was a sad scene when they didn't die peacefully with their heads cut off. Regardless if it were the customers of the old shops, the elves in the new shop, or even people from other races, the first thing that they did after entering the shops was talk about the newly released investiture of the gods. They always forgot about the time when they were engrossed in their discussions of the spiritual treasures and all kinds of techniques and spells. Under the masters of the 3 sects, which immortals do you think is the most powerful? When they got offline, they studied the 10 ultimate arrays. When they were online, they also worked hard. In the Geocity shop, Sudanji and Xdaolf sat before their computers. Instead of watching the new episode, they talked about the previous plot. It's Zhao Gongming, of course, the ocean-settling bead and dragon-binding rope are unrivaled. The 12 golden immortals and even lamp-burning Taoist are not his match. Jun Yangtze said excitedly. Whenever they talked about the battles, they were thrilled beyond words. In the Kanglan City shop at the West Continent, even Elf Queen Kellyable clicked on the TV series and talked with the large group of elves around her in high spirits. I wonder where this Luya Taoist master comes from. His head-nailing 7-arrow book killed Zhao Gongming. Is he even more powerful than the 3 sect masters? That treasure-falling golden coin. And the golden dragon scissors. How come there are so many powerful treasures in Investiture of the Gods? Elf girl Salah also exclaimed. It felt as if they were learning a lifetime's knowledge by watching Investiture of the Gods. They had never heard of so many miraculous treasures anywhere before. Do you think that we can learn there? Head-nailing 7-arrow book. In the old shop, the people exclaimed in appreciation while staring at the screen intently. They watched as Luya master took out a book that clearly listed the spells, seals, and pithy formation in the order of use. After setting a camp in the West Mountain, they put a platform in the camp and created a scarecrow with Zhao Gongming's name on it. After putting a lamp on its head and a lamp at its feet, they walked in star patterns and burned the talisman paper and the seals. Sudanji and other cultivators watched this part many times and then exclaimed, "How come I feel like I can learn this too?" Chapter 915, 9-Turn Yellow River Array. In the episodes released in recent weeks, West Qi and Yin Shang were in fierce battles. Members from the Chan sect and Ji sect and hermit immortals from everywhere entered the fray one by one, with all kinds of spiritual treasures, arrays, and techniques. They showed their ultimate skills in the arena of Investiture of the Gods. Almost everyone in the shops was thrilled. They wanted to watch each episode and each battle at least 10 times. They had never imagined that they could see such grand battles among immortals and gods in the mortal world. In addition, the techniques and spiritual treasures that the gods and immortals used were almost unheard of and unimaginable. This TV series was different from any previous legends that they had watched. Even in Journey to the West, they only remembered some of the figures, such as the Great Sage, Heaven's Equal and Buddha Tathagata, but in Investiture of the Gods, the viewers could easily remember names such as Grand Preceptor Wen, Jiangxia, the 10 Heavenly Masters, and Zhao Gongming. They could describe every detail of the spiritual treasures and techniques in discussions. Perhaps this war in the mortal world was an ultimate terrifying catastrophe, but without this war, how could these hermits and talented figures reveal themselves to the world? How could so many ultimate treasures show up and shock the world throughout history? How would people know the great immortal power of these cultivators who had lived as hermits and never cared about worldly affairs? Previously, the 10 Heavenly Masters built the 10 ultimate rays which troubled the West Qi army for a long time and almost killed its head commander. It wasn't broken until the 12 golden immortals descended to the mortal world and helped them. Then, the 3 sky fairies from 3 Immortal Island built the 9-Turn Yellow River Array. Zhao Gongming had extremely high cultivation strength and tempered his jade-like skin and immortal physique. He came down the mountain to avenge the Heavenly Masters of the Ji sect and had obtained a great victory by defeating the 12 golden immortals. However, he later was shot by the head-nailing 7-arrow book. He could do nothing but wait for death and finally died with a shout of pain. Due to his loyalty to his friends, Zhao Gongming's death induced the 3 sky fairies from 3 Immortal Island to come out and avenge him. Cloud Sky Fairy hand-picked 600 soldiers and drew patterns on the white earth. The beginning and the end of the patterns contained connate secrets concerning life and death. The outside was arranged according to the pattern of 9 palaces and 8 trigrams while the entrance and exit connected each other orderly. The array had only 600 soldiers, but it contained the power of 1,000,000 soldiers. Even immortals and gods would lose their hun and po in this array. After practicing for about half a month, the array was ready. Seeing this scene, the viewers were speechless. The 3 sky fairies' understanding of Tao is so powerful. At this moment, Gatinian finally caught up with other viewers. Seeing this, he was as shocked as everyone else. After picking a group of ordinary soldiers and training them for half a month, they can build such a major array in haste. It was hard to imagine. When the array was formed, it looked as followed, with the array reaching the heaven and earth. Its presence rivaled that of the Yellow River. Yin wind whistled as black mist blocked the sun and the moon, floating everywhere. The ghostly presence shot up into the sky, and the chilly and gloomy yin mist engulfed the ground. It will destroy all your hun and po even if you have cultivated for 1,000 years. It will damage your spirit and essence even if you have survived 10,000 tribulations. Even immortals and gods will have the 3 flowers on the top of their heads cut off. Even the Buddhas will have their 5 essences removed from their chests. In this array, even immortals can't escape from tribulations. TL note, 3 flowers and 5 essences are concepts of Taoism. Only the Grand Masters could have these things. This array looked simpler than the 10 ultimate arrays but had greater power than the latter. Look! The 12 golden immortals are here to break the array. In the Geocity shop, the viewers exclaimed, even the cool and calm people couldn't stay level-headed today. It was the first time that these people lost their composure. The first one entering the array is Xuanhuan, the first immortal in Jade Void Palace. The second golden immortal Chijings even came to help him. Nalan Hongwu was always calm, but at this moment, he couldn't control his excitement as if watching such a battle was the proudest moment in his life. Stepping on lotus flowers, Chijingzi came forward with miraculous immortal spells. He was equipped with all the ultimate treasures that he had taken from the cave to break the previous 10 ultimate arrays such as Purple Belt Immortal Garment and Yin Yang Mirror. He still had them with him. Xuanhuan stood in the air with sword in hand, engulfed in light and dust. Cloud Sky Fairy circulated the Chaos Essence Golden Dipper and shot out a golden beam which looked as blinding as a lightning bolt. Then, for some reason, Chijingzi fell into the array. Once he was in the array, the Nuwanaku point on the top of his head was sealed. Stumbling in the array, he couldn't use any of his great Dao spells. Xuanhuan didn't fare any better. He was captured together with Chijingzi after only 1 round of attacks. Then, a scene that no one could believe happened. The 3 sisters unleashed the power of the major array and charged forward with spiritual treasures. They captured Manjushri Lord of Heaven, Samantabadru Immortal, Sihang Taoist, Kingsu Dao Immortal Master, Doxing Lord of Heaven, and Jade Top Immortal. None of the 12 golden immortals escaped. They were all captured by the array. The Chan sect's 12 golden immortals who had broken 10 ultimate arrays with great immortal power were captured within 1 round of attacks. So horrifying. The 9-turn Yellow River array is the most horrifying major array that I've ever seen. In the Kanglan City shop, a black dragon yelled, "It's the #1 array in the world. It's so powerful and miraculous. Who can break it?" In the new shop on the East Continent, even the ancestral masters were horrified by this scene. The 12 golden immortals from the Chan sect had the 3 flowers on their head chopped off in the array, which destroyed almost all their cultivation strength. They were reduced to mortals. The viewers were more than shocked. They yelled inside, "These are the 12 golden immortals." In the huge battleground with many golden immortals descending, only lamp-burning Taoist and Jiangxia were standing. Seeing the danger, lamp-burning Taoist turned into a streak of wind and dashed into the ground to escape. When they watched Journey to the West, Buddha Dipankara gave them the impression that he was on the same level as Buddha Tathagata. But in this show, the now lamp-burning Taoist was escaping from the battle in defeat. He had no choice but to go to Jade Void Palace and ask for help from the primeval Lord of Heaven. The battles became grander and more magnificent. The viewers were enthralled by the unimaginable battle. They had a clear view of the 9-turn Yellow River array and could recreate it. After the 12 disciples of Chanset were captured, they were eager to know what their master, the primeval Lord of Heaven, would do. How come investiture of the gods is so fascinating? Jiangxi Oyu begged, "Sir, can't you release a few more episodes each day?" Chapter 916, The Power of the 3 Sect Masters. On the morning of the next day, before the shop was opened, a large group of people gathered at the door, blocking the entrance. The moment that the door opened, they swarmed in. It was early morning, but the shop was almost full. Glancing around the shop, Fang Chi saw people bustling in the huge space. Cultivators and warriors sat down in long rows, and some of them had bowls of instant noodles in their hands because they hadn't had time to have breakfast yet. Some had cappuccino or iced tea on their desks and sipped them with great enjoyment. When Fang Chi first came to this world, he had found that this land and people on it were strange, and the prospects were boundless, but he had never imagined that his internet cafe would expand to such a big scale. While resting his hands on the counter, he gazed at the bustling scene in the shop and inhaled deeply. 1 Dao was passed to 3 people, and 2 of them created the Chan sect and Ji sect, the enthralling legends that had circulated in his homeland named Huaxia for thousands of years had begun to spread on this land. There were stories about the Erlang immortal master, great sage, heaven's equal. The 3 emperors who established systems of ceremonies and customs, Enviwa who patched up the sky. Now, in investiture of the gods, people watched as the immortals experienced tribulations in their lives. By now, the customers in the shops probably had gotten used to stories of life and death and the magnificent legends shown in the TV series, which was why they no longer panicked when something unbelievable happened. Still, right now, the people in the shops were watching the scenes before them with a sense of awe. In here, they saw mortals turning into immortals and gods through cultivation, super powerful Dao spells that they had never heard of before. The Chan sect immortals who did the right things in the name of the heaven, and the Ji sect immortals who looked ferocious but were loyal to friends. These immortals looked even more real than the immortals and gods that they heard from the legends and myths in their own world. Perhaps these immortals would die in battles in this story, but the viewers would forever remember their great deeds. Perhaps the viewers also wondered about what kind of endowments that this place, allowing it to create such a legend and give births to these immortals and gods. Gradually, admiration rose in their hearts. Look, this is the true presence of an immortal. For some reason, Fang Chi felt emotions surging inside him and was going to burst out like currents from the Yangtze River and Yellow River as he looked around at the people in the shop. Perhaps he was deeply touched. Boss. At this moment, a melodious and familiar voice sounded by his ears. Yeah, how come you are standing here all by yourself? Why aren't you watching Investiture of the Gods? A small head appeared from the other side of the counter, standing on her tiptoes. Jiangxi Oya looked at Mr. Fang with her big eyes. What? Mr. Fang snapped back to reality. How come you're here? Aren't you supposed to be in school? Today is June 1st, Children's Day. We don't have school today. Jiangxi Oyu said nonchalantly. What? You guys have no school even on Children's Day? Don't you need to do extra lessons? Don't you live in the academy? Mr. Fang widened his eyes and said, how come you have more and more breaks in your academy? When I was in school, I got fewer and fewer breaks as I grew older. Tomorrow, I'll go and talk to your instructors. Why do they give so many breaks to the kids? You are supposed to stay in the academy and study. The instructors are all watching Investiture of the Gods and have no time to teach lessons. Jiangxi Oyu stomped her foot and said, today, new episodes are released. I asked Sister Sue, Sister Xuanhuan, Senior Alan, my older brother, and many other people to watch today's new episodes. Why don't you come and watch it with us? There's nothing to watch. Before he could finish, the girl dragged him to watch the TV series. Sir, what is the background of Heavenly High Emperor? Why did the 12 immortal masters have to submit to him as subordinates when he told them to? It seems like he has something to do with the investiture of the gods too? Sir, the 9-turn Yellow River array is so powerful, how can they break it? Jiangxi Oyu bombarded Fang Chi with questions in great curiosity. Meanwhile, demonic woman Ningbai and fairy king Yan were also talking about it. This array is miraculous and fits our style. Perhaps we can learn some of it. Having not organized a TV series group tour for a long time, Mr. Fang found that this group was quite big. Familiar players and customers ranging from the continent of immortal relics in the east to the Orc Kingdom and Elf Kingdom in the west all gather. Standing on the battleground where West Qi and Yin Shang fought, they looked at the major array in the rising dust and found that it indeed looked like the Yellow River with 9 turns and surging turbid waves. At this moment, Jiang Zi lit incense in a welcome ceremony. In the floating smoke of incense which spread across the battleground, a voice came from the sky, singing, "Since the chaos, Taoism has always been miraculous. Profound theories pinpoint significant opportunities. Tai Kai gave birth to yin and yang, which in turn gave birth to 4 directions. After heaven was born at Zi. First, our Tao can do anything under it, ever since the earth was born in Chu. Second, our and the humans were born in yin. Third, our, I'm the master of the sect, helping confused people to ascend by writing on jade. Yellow towel strongman, hear my order. Immortals follow me in floating smoke of incense. The primeval Lord of Heaven, the true master of Chan sect, is leaving the Jade Pool and going to spread the religion of Chan. This is, primeval Lord of Heaven? Then, more scents rose, in the rich rare fragrance, red clouds filled the sky as elk barks resonated in the sky. The primeval Lord of Heaven said, Taoist elder brother from the 8 View Palace is here, just as the poem stated. Breaking the chaos and revealing the heaven and earth, he established 5 elements in the mortal world, guiding Xuanhuan to immortality. He showed power at Han Fortress with Tao that is eternal. The figure came down from the sky while riding on a black ox. He's the 8 View Palace Master? Lozi is here? 2 sect masters showed up before the 9-turn Yellow River array? This array can only be broken by the sect masters? Instantly, the viewers looked at 3 sky fairies' strength in a totally new light. This array made 2 sect masters show up. At this moment, they knew that even if the 3 sky fairies were defeated, they would win their admiration. It's a pity that all their powerful Tao strength will be turned into nothing, Gatinian and Nalan Hongwu said in regret. When Lozi entered the array to observe, Jade Sky Fairy used the golden dragon scissors. Seeing the scissors falling from the sky, Lozi, sitting on the ox, waved his sleeve upward. The scissors dropped in the sleeve silently like a tiny seed falling into an ocean without causing any disturbances. Casually, Lozi took away the Chaos Essence Golden Dipper and Golden Dragon scissors. When Jade Sky Fairy charged over with her sword, the primeval Lord of Heaven ordered the White Crane Disciple to launch the 3-treasure Jade Ruai into the sky, which hit and broke open the top of Jade Sky Fairy's head. Her soul flew out of the opening, toward God Investiture platform. Then, the Green Sky Fairy charged at the primeval Lord of Heaven with a flying sword, and the White Crane Disciple knocked her sword away with the Jade Ruai. The primeval Lord of Heaven then took out a box from his sleeve, opened the lid, and tossed it into the sky. The box took in Green Sky Fairy and her horse and shortly turned them into a puddle of blood. Her soul also flew toward the God Investiture platform. At this moment, people began to understand the great powers of these sect masters. These 2 sect masters are so strong? Everyone had known that they were powerful but never expected that their powers were as great as this. The sect masters had easily suppressed the 3 sky fairies who had built the horrifying 9-turn Yellow River array. Chapter 917, Taoist friend, please wait. At this moment, in everyone's mind, these sect masters were symbols of invincibility among all immortals and gods. Their powers went beyond the viewer's imagination. 0. Led by Mr. Fang, the tour group stood before the 9-turn Yellow River array and looked up to watch the battle of immortals. What are the backgrounds of these sect masters, with such great power? Aren't they unrivaled in the world? Sutanji asked while watching the battle. I wonder how they have cultivated and achieved such great power. Still, they are big bullies. Demonic woman Ningxi said with a snort. They even came together. In my opinion, the Re sect is the most powerful sect. Only the 3 disciples under the Phi sect master could beat the disciples under the Chan sect master senseless, but they were killed by the big bullies who were their seniors. Right. Some people from the Half-City Cultivator Alliance agreed. I don't agree. The 5th Prince of the Royal Clan Guild said, They indeed didn't do anything wrong, but King Zhu and Sudaji have killed and tortured many good officials in Morning Song. The people in the nation live in untold suffering, leaving other things aside. Just watching the torture with blazing poles and basins filled with poisonous bugs sent chills down my spine. Every moment they block the West Chi army is another moment longer that the evil king and the demon fox can live, which means that they were aiding the evil people to torture others. You might think that they didn't deserve to die, but Queen Jiang and the dozens of imperial concubines who were tortured and killed by being sent into basins full of poisonous bugs. The old and conscientious officials such as Shangrong who were tortured to death, and the people who live in untold suffering wouldn't think so. As a member of the royal family which ruled a nation with peace and prosperity, he naturally knew what the corruption inside the royal family meant for a kingdom. Hearing his words, they nodded, thinking that his argument was solid. Yeah, no, nor Ningxi agreed with him when she first heard the words. After all, the mention of King Zhu and especially Sudaji piqued great hatred in her since the evilness of the demon fox went beyond everyone's imagination. Without her influence, King Zhu would have had a chance of being a good king. However, after some consideration, a thought dawned on her. She shook her head and said, "You guys are wrong. The 3 sky fairies from the 3 immortal island didn't plan to block the West Chi army, they just wanted to avenge Zhao Gongming. And their target was only the spellcaster, Luoya Taoist Immortal, except for Jiangxia who might be implicated. All other people wouldn't be affected. Anyway, Luoya Taoist Immortal had just helped the West Chi army. The others couldn't just sit and watch as they killed him, right?" Xiqi, spiritual master from the Nanhua faction, waved her whisk and joined the debate in front of the West Chi army. As the topic went on, a heated discussion erupted among the large group of viewers who watched the TV series together. They offered different opinions one after another. Then, whose fault is it? Fairy King Yun had always been mild and cool. However, seeing their 3 sky fairies from the 3 immortal island ending up like this despite their great strength, she couldn't remain calm. They lived a free and relaxed life in the 3 immortal island, searching for truth and immortality. Why did they come here and mess with the sect masters and shout that they would deal with the 2 sect masters as they had done with the golden immortals? They even threatened to break the sect masters' heads by using the golden dragon scissors and chaos essence gold dipper. After they issued such a threat and no one could dissuade them, they will certainly receive a good beating. As a faction master, Xdaolf could relate to the 2 sect masters in the TV series. If that little Xiao Yelf dares to threaten me, I would certainly make sure that he couldn't see tomorrow's sun. At this moment, Xiao Yelf, standing behind the counter, sneezed for no reason. He glanced around in confusion. Aku, who's talking about me? It's all because of Zhao Gongming's pathetic death. Jiangxi Oyu joined the discussion in a huff. The 3 sky fairies must have been beside themselves with fury, otherwise, they wouldn't have come out of their island to take a part in this business. How come no one could dissuade them otherwise? Luoya Taoist Immortal is to blame. By now, he has slipped away. He must be the one. Moxian and other disciples of Nanhua faction got an idea and said while pointing at the Sly Taoist. But many people were still on the side of the good officials and people in Morning Song. After all, some of them were civilians and small aristocrats. If not for Luoya Taoist Immortal, their army wouldn't be able to reach Morning Song. Who is to blame for the deaths of 3 sky fairies? The heated debate finally returned to the original question. Who is to blame? West Chi, Zhao Gongming, Luoya Taoist Immortal, definitely the 2 sect masters. In the group, there were grand cultivators, faction masters, members of the demon clan, and cultivators with unorthodox practices. Since they had different backgrounds, their perspectives were different. If 1,000 people watched Investiture of the Gods, 1,000 different understandings would appear. Before the episode was over, the big group of people was engaged in a heated debate even fiercer than the war between West Chi and Yin Shang on the battleground. Zhao Gongming is to blame. It's Wenzong's fault. It's their own fault, they dared to mess with the sect masters. What did you say? While rolling up her sleeves, Ningxi glared around and revealed a small part of her two silver shiny fangs. She looked as if she would explode the head of the person who just spoke. Who said it? Come out. Her expression was cold. As she glanced around, the independent cultivator in Half City who had shouted that Zhao Gongming was to blame shrunk his neck. Humphrey. The weak cultivator with the cultivation strength of the true lake realm was beneath her notice. She glanced at another weak warrior who yelled Grand Preceptor when, and the latter shrunk his body as well, afraid that the demonic woman would beat him. Divine Ocean Realm, he probably would get his head broken after getting offline. At this moment, a sneer came from one side. Ha ha, do you think that you are powerful by bullying these viewers with negative combat strength? I don't agree. Today, I will speak for the people and dead officials on the side of Yin Shang. A smirk face emoji squeezed out from the crowd and looked like a troll. He yelled smugly, I said it, come and beat me if you can. In the Half City shop, a girl put down her virtual reality headset and stood up. You, a demon, care about people and good officials? I'll see what a troll you are. Ah, sir, someone's beating people, someone's beating people. Beating a smirk face emoji doesn't count as beating people, hee hee. Mr. Fang continued to watch the TV series. Where's the lightning punishment? Where are the rules? At this moment, the system has finished upgrading, the host's privileges have been increased. Mr. Fang glances at it and said casually, I make the rules. I won't troll anymore, heroine forgive me, hero, forgive me, While the viewers were fiercely debating and even fighting over the deaths of immortals from the Phi sect without a result, a Taoist riding on a tiger appeared on the screen. Before the Taoist was a heroic-looking young man dressed in an 8-trigram purple-belted immortal robe with a water fire bell in his hand. He was walking down the mountain. At this moment, the Taoist came out from the forest behind him riding on the tiger. He said with a smile, Your Highness, please wait. The big group of viewers suddenly turned quiet and looked at this person. Huh? This person? The people who had been yelling all widened their eyes as if they had just discovered something. They stopped arguing and stared at this person. How come this scene looks so familiar? Chapter 918. Who's this person named Xuanhuan? At this moment, the Taoist with a white face and a long beard walked toward Yin Hong and bowed. Yin Hong received him with the greeting for a senior and asking, Senior Taoist, can I have your name please? The Taoist said, Your master and I are from the same sect. We are both from the Jade Void Palace. Yin Hong asked, Uncle Master, what's your name? What teachings do you have for me today? I'm Shen Gongbao. The Taoist didn't give more information. Instead, he asked, Where are you going? He's Yin Hong? The viewers looked at the heroic-looking young man. After Queen Jiang was killed, Yin Hong, the second prince, almost died as well. With great efforts, he escaped and would have died long ago if not for the help of an immortal. By now, he had learned many techniques and even brought all the spiritual treasures from Chai Jing's cave abode, including the yin-yang mirror and purple-belted immortal garment with him. The viewers had seen the great powers of these treasures. Whoa, he can finally go and avenge the murder of his mother. The viewers were excited when they saw that the desolate second prince had finally grown up. I'll see if Daji dares to walk all over him again. The viewers watched as Yin Hong answered, At my master's order, I'm going to West Qi to help them fight King Zhu. With a sincere expression, Shen Gongbao demanded, Nonsense. Who is King Zhu to you? Yin Hong said, He's my father. The Taoist yelled, In the whole world, I've never heard of a case where a son helped others to fight his father. Besides, if King Wu succeeded in defeating King Zhu with your help, and your ancestor's shrine was destroyed with your nation being taken by others, would you dare to face your ancestors the day of your death? Hiss. It seems like he have a point. At this moment, Sutanji and others nodded. Shengongbao has a point. Yin Hong thought so too, and he looked hesitant. Then, he shook his head and said, "But I swore to my master that if I went back on my word, my limbs would be turned to dust. Besides, my master saved my life and gave me all my abilities." Shengongbao interrupted him with a laugh. "In the whole world, I've never heard of anyone's physical body had been turned into dust. How can this oath hold true? Listen to me and change your mind. Go and fight Zhu instead, and you'll surely create great accomplishment one day, which will be a comfort to the spirits of your ancestors and my sincere gratitude." With the water fire bell in hand and draped in a trigram purple belted immortal garment, Yin Hong turned around and went to fight Zhu in high spirits. This guy? Everyone stared at the scene dumbfoundedly. "What's happening? ? You forget about your mother's murder? . Before long, the viewers saw Crown Prince Yin Zhao leaving the Nine Immortal Mountain and going to West Chi by traveling through the earth. As he went, a light beam floated onto a high mountain. A Taoist came over, riding a tiger. "Your Highness, please wait." Obviously, Yin Zhao had taken the oath that if he changed his mind, he would be killed by a shovel and a hoe. Shengongbao just smiled and said, "With your great strength, how can you be killed by shovel and a hoe?" 3 minutes later. The viewers watched as Crown Prince Yin Zhao, equipped with twin swords, desolate bell, and sky-turning stamp that Guanxingzi had given to him, went to fight Zhu with heroic spirits. People like Sutanji, Jiangxi Oyu, and Gatinian exchanged a look. How come this guy is also going to fight Zhu? What s. happening? After a while, the viewers saw a dwarf playing on a cliff in front of the flying cloud cave in Dragon Trapping Mountain. He was Xingsan, the disciple of Uluzan, one of the 12 golden immortals. He was about to leave when a Taoist rode out on a tiger. This time, the Taoist's skill seemed to be even better. He said, "Taoist friend, please wait." People like Sutanji, the elders, faction masters, and Gatinian all stared at the scene intently as if they were afraid to miss any tiny details. 5 minutes later. They watched as Xingsan stole the immortal trapping rope and a jade bottle of pills from his master and then went to Three Mountain Fortress to fight Zhu. This man? Everyone stared at Shengongbao in puzzlement. On the screen, Shengongbao stroked his short beard, he. Then, they saw the following scenes. Yin Hong was turned into dust inside the Tai Kai scroll, realizing the oath. Yin Zhao was trapped in the mountain, and then Guanxingzi pushed a shovel and a hoe up to the mountain with an expression of pain. Xingsan got the top half of his body cut off. Of course, this would happen much later. Whoa! Even Gatinian yelled in surprise, "This man, what's happened?" Everyone looked at each other as if they had discovered something extraordinary. After they finished today's episodes, they all went back to watch the scenes when the Immortals made their entrances in the TV series. For example, the part when the 3 sky fairies left the island. In 3 Immortal Island, mist and clouds leisurely floated among the tall and green pine trees. The floating auspicious mist and clouds filled the gate with green pines standing on both sides. Logs were paved on the bridge as ivies grew all over the big boulders. Then, sure enough, a Taoist riding on a tiger came. He yelled at the gate of the cave abode, "Taoist friends!" Everyone exchanged a look of horror, as if they had discovered a huge secret. They exclaimed, "Sir, what powerful Taoist spell did this man use?" Standing up immediately, Sutanji ran to Mr. Fang and dragged him over to her computer. While pointing at the screen, she yelled in astonishment, "Can we learn this?" Hearing her words, everyone looked over and stared at Mr. Fang. "Sir, I want to learn it too." "Ah, I want to learn it as well." Even Jiang Xiaoyu skipped over. Mr. Fang said solemnly, "This is a primeval forbidden spell. It depends on your fortune if you can learn it or not." If one has the fortune, even a 10-year-old kid can learn it with ease. Mr. Fang looked at Jiang Xiaoyu when he said these words. Yeah, do you mean I have the fortune? Jiang Xiaoyu beamed happily. I mean, Mr. Fang said solemnly, you, a little girl, would even help your enemy count the money that they earn from selling you. How can you learn that, scummy shopona? Jiang Xiaoyu stomped her foot in fury. You're the one who would count money for your enemy after you were sold. Then, Mr. Fang continued, if one doesn't have the fortune, they can't learn it even if they were a faction master or an elder. As he said the words, he glanced at Su Tanji. Huh? Su Tanji was secretly pleased. A moment ago, the scummy shopona looked at Xiaoyu when he talked about the people who could learn this skill, but it turned out that Xiaoyu can't learn it. Now, he is looking at me as he is talking about the people who can't learn it. Does he mean the opposite again? Su Tanji said in delight. Does it mean I can? You can learn the opposite skill. Damn it. Then, who can learn it? Mr. Fang shrugged. But, at this moment, Gatinian said, after the powerful 3 sky fairies died and Grand Preceptor Wen died at Dragon Ending Ridge, Shenggong Bao can only trick people away from the Chan sect. I guess Yin Shang will soon come to its end, right? At this moment, someone yelled, the trailer for tomorrow's episodes is out. Kong Xuan blocked the army at Golden Rooster Ridge. Everyone froze and then looked at Mr. Fang while asking, who's this person named Kong Xuan? Is he even more powerful than the 3 sky fairies? Chapter 919, 5-Colored Godly Light. At this moment, with the aid from the Saint-level masters in the West Continent who had ascended to the godly realm with the Valkyrie's feathers, the shop clerk, Grand Mage Merlin, opened a branch shop of the arcade game hall in the godly realm. The 5 repeating tasks of earning crystals had obtained obvious progress with the sales of the mobile games such as Journey to the War and Fantasy Westward Journey, as the new arcade game hall was opened in the godly realm. The task was close to completion for the first round. As they collected all kinds of rare materials in the heavenly realm, they were also planning to build portals to connect the 2 realms and thus restore the world to the prosperity that people had enjoyed in the ancient times. In the shops, the discussion about investiture of the gods and the content of tomorrow's episodes continued. It must be noted that the 3 sky fairies had defeated all the disciples of the Chan sect and forced the Chan sect master to make a move. Otherwise, they couldn't continue with the process of the investiture of the gods. Their strength was so powerful that they forced the sect masters to show up. Are the people more powerful than that? This legend was indeed stunning. The viewers couldn't imagine what super powerful skills could be better than the 9-turn Yellow River Array. The viewers didn't take the 3 sect masters into consideration since those existences had been born in extremely distant times when Hundan was first separated, and their power went beyond the viewers' imaginations. But this Kong Xuan, Xiaoyu, what powerful skills do you think Kong Xuan will use tomorrow? Right now, a large group of people sat on the couches and talked among themselves. I have no idea. Jiang Xiaoyu furrowed her brows, feeling like she had been thinking so much that her head hurt. I think he must have many miraculous spiritual treasures. Shen Qingqing said, Chai Jingzhu was no match for his disciple after he gave the latter all his spiritual treasures. Perhaps Kong Xuan has even better spiritual treasures and isn't even afraid of the sect masters. I think that he might have an array even more powerful than the previous ones. After some consideration, Nalan Hongwu said, the 9-turn Yellow River Array was built in half a month with hundreds of soldiers. If someone put more effort and built an even more powerful array, perhaps it can even trap the sect masters? It can't be that powerful. Su Tanji disagreed. How can anyone be as powerful as the 3 sky fairies from the 3 immortal islands? The primeval Lord of Heaven took the accusation of being a bully when he showed his hand. Even the sect masters didn't want to be branded with such a bad name. If the new person was even more powerful than the 3 sky fairies, would the primeval Lord of Heaven be so cheeky as to show his hand again? I'm sure that he's not as powerful as the 3 sky fairies. Xuanhuan emphasized, otherwise, this sect master would be too ashamed if he made another move. However, if he doesn't show up, the investiture of the gods would come to a dead end. In the lounge area of the shop, whenever one group of customers left, a new group would arrive. By midnight, many groups of customers had sat in this area and then left, but the topic remained the same. When the TV series was broadcast on the big screen at 8 p.m., many civilians living nearby would come and watch this weird but grand legend even though they would obtain no benefits from it. Some people even stayed in the shop until the closing time. On the early morning of the next day, people would stand before the door in heated discussions. Obviously, the people in this world liked this ancient legend more than others. The only other legend that had aroused such passion was Journey to the West. On the morning of the next day, as soon as Mr. Fang opened the door, figures swarmed in around him, hurrying into the shop. "Hurry, let's watch the new episodes." Xuanhuan beckoned at her disciples and clicked on Investiture of the Gods quickly. Jiang Xiaoyu and the others sat in a row and clicked on it immediately as well. Even the elves in the West continent looked eager. At Jiang Xiao's command, the army marched toward Morning Song like a long snake. At this moment, Yin Shang had come to the end of its reign and couldn't find any troops to block its enemies. However, at this moment, an army of about 100,000 soldiers was stationed on the Golden Rooster Ridge, and their flags blocked the sun. With great magnificence, the leader of the army rode out on a red horse while carrying a big saber, with 5-colored light behind him. His eyes looked as bright as burning flames or the light of the sun and moon right after the sky was separated from the earth. Dressed in gold armor that was as bright as fire, this man was Xuanhuan. His magnificence induced a wave of exclamations the moment that he made his appearance. In addition, the 5-colored light behind him spread out: teal, yellow, red, white, and black. The fine light beams spread all over the world, and even heaven seemed to shake under the force. Is this guy Xuanhuan? No one had expected that Yin Shang, which was on the verge of collapse, could have such a grand master. Right now, Jiang Xiao's camp had grand masters such as Nata, Yang Jian, and Li Zhenzi, military geniuses such as Huang Tanhua and Deng Zhugong, and even powerful immortals such as Lamp-Burning Taoist who had obtained much more power than before. Lamp-Burning Taoist now had the ultimate treasure, Ocean-Settling Bead, that Zhao Gongming had used to defeat the 12 golden immortals. His mount was the golden feather rock that he had just tamed. Right now, his power was probably greater than those of the 12 golden immortals when they were in their prime, moving closer to his final form as Buddha Dipankara. When the West Qi army spread out in a line, it was a grand sight. Out of the 100,000 soldiers of Yin Shang that were stationed at Golden Rooster Ridge, only one man rode forward as the 5-colored godly light rose. At this moment, everyone saw a scene that went beyond their imagination. Countless soldiers and generals including Natu and Li Zhenzi, all kinds of powerful spiritual treasures including Ocean-Settling Bead and Golden Pot, all the godly beasts and rare beasts. All of them vanished instantly like dust entering the ocean without a ripple. When the Western sect's second master, Zunti Taoist, came, he was also turned into nothing when the light touched him. What superpower is the 5-colored light behind Xuanhuan? Seeing this, everyone yelled in horror. What the heck is this superpower? This is a sect master. He was taken just like this, sir. All the people in the shops including Xuanhuan, Gatinian, and the ancestor from the East continent were stupefied. Xuanhuan pointed at the screen and said, "How come this guy is more powerful than a sect master?" Of course, Xuanhuan couldn't really defeat the Western sect's second master, Zunti Taoist. For the viewers in this world, this was a legend from another land. They were enthralled by the great powers exhibited by the immortals, but they loved the characters in this legend more than anything else, regardless if they were protagonists or antagonists. Each of the characters was vivid and lively with their own unique personalities. They stood proud and powerful in the world. They were the heroes of this era. Like stars in the sky, they lit up the nightly sky with flames of war during the final tribulation. In this most horrifying catastrophe, they emitted the most radiant starlight. Now, Xuanhuan got defeated by the Western sect's second master. The viewers exchanged a look. Then, no one can block West Chi's army against King Xu, right? Chapter 920, Immortal Slaying Sword Array, the Descendants of Gods and Demons. Now, even Xuanhuan was defeated by the Western sect's second master. The viewers exchanged a look. Then, no one can block the West Chi army from defeating King Xu. However, they saw the title of the next episode, Immortal Slaying at Border Sign Fortress. What's immortal slaying? Obviously, there was one more episode today. Eagerly, the members of Mr. Fang's group tour in Investiture of the Gods began to talk among themselves. They saw a major array at the border sign fortress before them. Red light engulfed the heaven and earth where the array was. Knowing members of the Chan sect were here, Duo Bao Daoist cast a palm thunder from his hand and dispersed the red light, revealing the array. It was as the poem explained. Not made of copper, iron, or steel, it was once concealed below Mount Xumi. Not refined repeatedly with yin and yang, its blade was sharpened by water and fire. Immortal slaying sword is sharp, immortal butchering sword is deadly, and red lights rose when immortal trapping sword is launched. With miraculous variations, immortal exterminating sword makes Dalua golden immortals soak in blood. Previously, only the disciples of the Ji sect showed their powers, but the Ji sect master had never showed his hand. But this time, the Ji sect master Tongshan finally showed his hand. TL note, Tongshan means heaven connecting in Chinese. In the immortal slaying array, as the golden bell rang, a pair of flags moved to the sides and revealed Sect Master Tongshan sitting on the Grand Bull flanked by disciples of different generations. Outside the array, the primeval Lord of Heaven sat in the middle flanked by his disciples. At noon, auspicious clouds appeared above the primeval Lord of Heaven's head. From his jade headpiece with dangling pearls, countless golden flowers rose up, illuminating the whole place. Previously, the viewers thought that the sect master had bullied the disciples from the other sect. Right now, seeing the two sect masters were going to go head to head, they almost screamed silently. They had never imagined that they could watch a battle on this level. Following him into the immortal slaying array, the viewers watched as the primeval Lord of Heaven stood on the agarwood carriage with his hand on the flight chair. A sword was hung on the immortal slaying gate of the array, and its name was the Immortal Slaying Sword. The primeval Lord of Heaven patted his carriage, and tens of thousands of golden lotus flowers instantly hovered in the air, sitting on the flowers. The primeval Lord of Heaven flew in through the gate of the Immortal Slaying Array. This series of technique and powers were dizzy to watch. On the day when the primeval Lord of Heaven broke the 9-turn Yellow River Array, he didn't show any of his abilities. Today, people began to realize that the Tao of Ji sect and Chan sect are both orthodox. The two sects both deserve their great reputation. At this moment, Sect Master Tongshan launched a palm thunder which shook a sword. Then, the sword cut off a lotus flower from the primeval lord's head. My goodness! The viewers exclaimed. Everyone looked at this scene in horror. Even though Sect Master Tongshan had the advantage of the array, they were still shocked by his great power. He even cut off a lotus flower from a sect master whom they regarded as unrivaled. They were extremely horrified that even the Chan sect master couldn't retreat from this ultimate ray unscathed. They had never looked so horrified before. It felt as if they weren't facing an array, but an abyss with countless tribulations. When the primeval Lord of Heaven got out of the array, almost everyone was drenched in cold sweats of fear. They shivered involuntarily. Then, they saw Lozi enter the array. 3 strikes of essence dashed out of his head and turned into 3 pure ones. Lozi began to battle Sect Master Tongshan. Then, Bells sounds came from the east as a Taoist rode over on a beast, wearing the 9-cloud hat and a bright red silk robe with white crane patterns. He held a sword in his hand and sang, "Since Han done, Tao has taken the priority. Constant possession is constant nothing," which shows the way of nature, traveling 30,000 li on purple essence from the east. It's been 5,000 years since I traveled through Han Fortress. Taoist Brother Li, I'm here to give you a hand. This was high pure Taoist. Bell sounds came from the south when a Taoist rode over on a heavenly horse, wearing the Ruai hat and a pale yellow robe with 8 trigram patterns. He had a Ganoderma Ruai in his hand and sang, "Coming out Han Fortress and reaching Kunlun. Every tribe now belongs to the Tao factions. Living as long as the heaven and earth, my spirit will still live on after Mount Xumi collapses. Taoist Brother Li, I'll help you subdue Taoist Tongshan." This was Jade Pure Taoist. Then, the viewers saw a Taoist wearing the 9 sky hat and an 8 treasure longevity purple cloud robe. He rode over on an earth lion, and he had a dragon whisker fan in one hand and the 3 treasure jade ruai in the other. This was vital pure Taoist. This is? All the cultivators and warriors felt like a huge force was going to erupt in their hearts like a volcano. This shocking force hammered their hearts like drums. They are the 3 pure ones. Everyone looked horrified. Naturally, they knew about the 3 pure ones. In the legend of Sword and Fairy which gave them the deepest impression, the 3 pure palace in Shu Mountain worshipped these 3 figures, the loftiest deities in Taoism. But they had been summoned by one person. One essence turned into 3 pure ones. The 3 pure ones each had skills and strength as powerful as those of Lozi. At this moment, everyone felt the chaotic pure essence coming from the beginning of the world. It was the earliest and most horrifying presence in the world. Not able to think, the viewers could do nothing but worship their super powerful techniques and strength. The 3 sect masters might have different power levels, but a battle like this, how come you're watching on your knees? Suddenly, a voice howled. They almost wept in fear. Lozi is so powerful. Even though the array hadn't been broken yet, Sect Master Tongshan was hit by the crutch 3 times. The beating happened in the horrifying immortal slaying array. Not only the cultivators and warriors but also the elves felt dizzy, thinking that every character in the TV series was powerful. How can so many horrifying masters appear in this place at the same time? Valkyrie Isabella, who watched the scene on the big screen, felt even more horrified. Fortunately, she hadn't recovered yet, otherwise, she would have been paralyzed by fear and dropped back into the pool. This Tongshan, Lozi, primeval lord of heaven. How come they are so horrifyingly powerful? She yelled in the pool with hair standing on end while cold sweat appeared on her forehead. Where the heck is this place? It's so terrifying. As a goddess who was born before the heavens, she never knew what fear was after she was born, but now, she felt it strongly. The fear was heartfelt. Then, it turned into unspeakable awe for the heaven, earth, mortals, and deities. Perhaps it was the first time that she had this feeling ever since she became a goddess. This sect master Tongshan is so powerful. The viewers yelled in shock. Although his strength wasn't as great as those of Lozi, his array was so powerful that even Lozi couldn't break it until 4 sect masters combined forces. Can we learn this array? Sudanji exclaimed. Can you learn it even if you have the chance? Mr. Fang rolled his eyes at her. Silly. It seems like I can't learn it. Then, she glared back at him. You're the silly one. I'm only a bit lazy, not silly. Don't slander me. At this moment at the demon-slaying platform in innumerable immortal sea, many immortals gathered with flags flapping in the wind. In God's palace, golden light gathered as the gods stood proudly between heaven and earth. In the endless darkness at ninefold darkness, tens of thousands of demons lowered their heads as horrifying dark gods woke up in the primeval tombs. Once I descend to the mortal world, heaven and earth will submit to me. Our plans that have lasted tens of millions of years can finally be accomplished. The mortal world will be the battleground. Even if we have to destroy the heaven and earth and crush this world, we must seize that ultimate holy item of fortune. I''ll.be eternal.